Welcome to Old Guy Tech,
the OGT.TV recording studio.
Technology for the rest of us.
Hi, this is Rob Charney, Old Guy Tech TV, and we're here today to talk about Measure O in particular in El Dorado County. Now, we've had the pleasure of having Lori and Sue in with us before, and we kind of want to talk about what's going on with the what the measures are all about, and basically how the whole thing works, a little bit about what it is, and then your passion as to why you feel that Measure O is such a good deal. And our audience might like to find a little bit more out about it. So let's get into it. Where do we want to start?
I think a good starting point is people, my friends especially, will say to me, Lori, what is Measure O? How did this happen? Why are you doing this?
Right.
And that's just kind of a natural story that seems to explain it for people. So if you don't mind, I'll just kind of go there.
Go. Let's start.
So
let me know when you want to do the map. We've got an overhead that we can jump to. So
okay. We'll do that. Yeah. Right. Basically, a couple years ago, I live in Shingle Springs.
Okay.
So that's where I'm hyper aware of what's going on in Shingle Springs. I wasn't very politically involved back then, believe it or not.
Yeah.
I know, right?
Not unusual.
It hasn't been that long. So a couple years ago, in my neighborhood, Tilden Park hotel project's been proposed. It's still out there, kind of looming large. We don't know what's going on with it.
A hotel project.
Yes.
Okay.
That's on the north side of Highway 50 in Shingle Springs.
Okay. All right.
Down on the south side, right around the same time, many people have heard about the Sandstino high-density residential project. That was kind of being proposed by a developer right around the same time. That's on the south side of Highway 50 in Shingle. So what happened is all of these neighborhoods kind of started going, what is going on? Why is that being proposed in Shingle Springs? We see ourselves as more of a lower density kind of ranch type community. And the larger parcels usually, you look at the general plan map actually, and medium density to low density, so basically 1 acre parcels or larger is most of Shingle Springs. Not all of it, but most of it. Right. And so we have been all this time, knowing that things are going to get developed and built out, but we kind of expected it to be that same type of development. Okay. So Sandstino comes along. It's a huge project, and it's further off the freeway, and the people there were not understanding, why is this happening? That's the bottom line. Why is this happening? That land is zoned for 5 acre parcels or larger. So why is this high density project coming? And a couple years ago, at the same time, our general plan is getting updated, right?
Right.
So I started going to meetings, and I was told, I looked around too, and I said, where's the public? That was the thing. I'm like, there's not a lot of public here. What's going on? So I was advised to start going to, they were called reg reform meetings, regulatory reform meetings, which is a subcommittee of what is now called CDAC, Community Economic Development Advisory Committee.
Wow.
I know. It's a lot. It's a mouthful. So I started going to reg reform because they were going to start looking at community ID.
Right.
And I'm looking at my community thinking we need an ID so that we can kind of protect ourselves and all that. Well, turns out at reg reform, I wasn't getting any answers, and they made it very clear that they don't take on projects, individual projects. They were just looking at policies. And I said, well, help me with the policy then. Can you help me with the policy? And they said, no, we're really focused on updating the general plan right now. And I said, well, can you help me get in on that? And they're like, no, that's already in process. And so I wasn't getting answers. And what happened is we started forming these coalitions within neighborhoods, right? My neighborhood started at the Stop Tilden Park, because that's my neighborhood. Across the freeway, it was No Sandstino, because that was that neighborhood. Well, we realized that we really needed to have a bigger coalition, a bigger voice. So then I helped with a friend. We put together the Shingle Springs Community Alliance, because these projects will impact all of Shingle Springs, and actually the whole county.
All of El Dorado County.
Really, because everybody kind of goes through there. So Shingle Springs Community Alliance was formed, and wasn't getting answers at these meetings that I was going to. So then we had to start going to the Board of Supervisors about it and saying, what do we do? Why is this happening?
Right.
So
who is the supervisor in your area?
Well, interesting question. Highway 50 basically, more or less, split Shingle Springs in half into two different districts.
Okay.
So, yeah. So the north side of the freeway is in District 4, which is
Okay.
Supervisor Briggs right now.
Right.
However, we have an election right now,
Yep,
so
yep.
that'll be new. And then on the south side of the freeway was Supervisor Netting when all this was
So-
going on, District 2. And we just got our new
Shiva,
supervisor, Supervisor Frinson.
Mm-hmm.
So, that was all going on with the supervisors. And the developer, as part of the application process, has to start working on environmental impact reports, EIRs,
Right.
which go to the board usually routinely to get funding. There's a contract with the county to get the funding. Well, we said we don't want an EIR. We don't want this project. So we actually brought the community to the particular board of supervisor hearing about the contracts, which is kind of unheard of. They kind of normally just go through the process.
Right.
We showed up and we said, we don't want this project. And we actually stopped the county from entering into the contracts with the EIR.
Oh.
And we thought that was cool. Well, it didn't really stop anything because guess what, Rob? The developer can go ahead and get their own consultant and carry on with the
Oh, there
EIR.
you
We
go.
didn't
So
know
it
that.
can still go
but
on.
it's still
Right.
going on. So they are actually
Okay.
doing that. So in the meantime, we were in front of the board. The Board of Supervisors actually did propose a policy to bring these projects that were just huge and massive. There's several. There's Marble Valley. There's one in, I think they call it Central El Dorado Hills. There's several of these bigger projects that aren't truly in our general plan right now. And they were going to review them and kind of give a thumbs up or down to help us out so we're not always in battle mode. Well,
right.
we couldn't get 3 of the supervisors to vote on it that day, and so we didn't get that policy in place to help us out. So we're still in battle mode. And what happened at one of these meetings is the developer for Sandstino was there at the podium, and somebody in the audience said, "Why are you doing this in Shingle Springs?" Right? And he said, "Well, because there's a community region line in the general plan around Shingle Springs." And we all went, "Well, what's a community region?" We didn't know what a community region line was.
Right.
We didn't know there was one around Shingle Springs.
Okay.
So, if you want to go to the map, I'll kind of,
All right.
that'll help a little bit.
Let's go to the map.
Yeah.
Here we go.
So, if you look at the map, this one here is Shingle Springs.
Okay.
You see how it's a darker one?
Yep.
That's what we're trying to remove with Measure O.
Which is basically, it's an urban boundary line.
Yes.
It's an urban
So-
boundary line. Okay.
And if you look at these lighter colors on the map, those are actually lower density.
So this red section in here, that's what we're talking about on Measure O.
That's
right?
one part.
And then what is this over here?
Yellow over here, this section here, that's Cameron Park.
Okay.
And yellow is high density zoning. So
Right.
it makes sense that, you would expect it there.
Uh-huh.
The lighter colors are low density and medium density, which is why people that move there just aren't expecting, the high density. And then if you look over here, see this other red that's really dark?
Yeah, right.
That's the Green Valley Road corridor.
Okay.
And they also have a project proposed over there along Green Valley Road. And guess what? It's in one of those same lines. And it's the
Oh.
same developer.
Okay.
And
All
he
right.
said,
Well-
"Hey, I'm doing this because of the line."
Right.
And we're going to, we want to get rid of those lines.
Yeah. Okay, so you want to
So,
change the line.
We want to get rid of the community region
Right.
lines because
Okay.
those particular areas are kind of expecting the lower density development. Not that they're looking for no development. That's not our point.
Right.
We want the expected low density development.
What's the designations in zoning that's
Yeah.
already there?
The zoning
Yeah.
that's
Already there.
Yeah.
Instead of the red line saying we're going to bump it up and make
Booster,
it higher.
it's
So is the developer trying to change the zoning?
He'll
So
have
this
to
is
do
what
a
this is
general
all
plan
about.
amendment to do
Right.
these projects.
Okay. All right.
And
They
it
don't-
will change the zoning.
And
yeah.
is Measure O, how does Measure O fit into this?
Measure okay, well then one more little side
Okay,
story
let's
as we
go
go
back.
as we go along.
I don't want to jump ahead.
No, it's because
Okay.
it's an awesome story, right?
All right,
Yeah.
right.
But so Shingle Springs, we realized we didn't want our line. We found out the Green Valley corridor people, they don't want their line, right?
Okay, all
well,
right.
then we found out that about 2009 was the resolution. So prior to 2009, Camino and Pollock Pines realized that they had one of these community region lines up there.
Yeah.
And you look up there and you're going, wait a minute, we should not be doing a whole lot of high density development up in Camino and Pollock
Yeah, these
Pines.
lines underlined right there, it says highest intensity, self-sustaining, compact, urban type growth in that line.
Let me straighten that out there.
Yeah.
So
So this was back
All
in
right.
yeah.
So where does Highway 50 run into this so that we can
Well, that's
get a
the
little
thing.
idea?
That's the corridor. Normally
So,
people say,
all
"Oh,
right.
you have to put all your high density growth along the corridor,"
Okay.
and that does make sense. However,
Well, sure. Yeah.
we don't want to overdo it. we
Well,
don't.
I have a lot of questions on to how do we we have water issues going on right
Yes.
now. We have traffic mitigation level
Yes.
F going on.
Yep.
We have a number of issues
Yes.
that I believe have to get really addressed before we go too much further anyway.
Absolutely, and so that's our whole point: is take these red lines. We're calling them targets.
Okay.
Take them off of these communities that are more rural in nature, because we like those communities that way. We're not saying don't build anything. That's not what we're saying. We're just saying build it out, the lower density. Even in Shingle Springs, we have a business park. It's zoned
Right.
for it. It's ready to go.
Right.
Go ahead and fill it up. We're not saying don't build anything. We're just
Right.
saying the lower densities, please do that. And then in 2009, the Board of Supervisors at that time recognized that there isn't the infrastructure up in Pollock Pines Camino, the roadways, the
Right.
water systems.
There's no way.
There's nothing. So
No.
they actually put together a resolution back in 2009
Okay.
to remove those red lines.
All right.
Well, here we are, it's 2014. Have they done it?
Probably not.
Probably not. And so that's kind of how we joined forces to put together this initiative to say, let's ask the people, do we like our county more rural in nature, which most people when you talk to them do? Can we get rid of these red lines and help out our Board of Supervisors and do something?
So yeah, and then we're talking with these lines again. We're looking at. We're talking about high density housing, correct?
Let's see, CRLs. Well, yeah,
Or
pretty much.
I mean, the majority of the
That's
fact
the
is
whole
now.
target, yeah.
Now,
Right.
is it just so I understand correctly here now? Is it single family homes? No. Is it apartments?
The whole concept, you can see it happening in all these other jurisdictions. It's high density, tall, we call them stack and pack, but it's basically they like where the commercial's on the bottom and they have housing units up on top.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
all
they,
right.
if you go to a River Cats game, that stuff they're building down there right next to the
It's very
stadium
popular.
is-
It's been going on back east a lot.
but it's
and,
the
yeah.
government's incentivizing it, so that helps developers to make it easier to do those type of projects. In fact, they are changing policies to not have to mitigate for traffic if they do that type of project, because the government wants that so much, that style of development, that they are. California actually, they did pass a state bill. I was just pulled it off the computer today. They're changing the bills all the time, but they're doing it to promote that type of lifestyle. And just keeping up.
In some areas, it makes a lot of sense.
Of course
but
it does, yes.
But you should have the infrastructure, or you're building project housing.
Right.
And it didn't work in Detroit, and they're bulldozing it right now.
Right.
So why are we doing that here? When I think even in our census, the last 10 years, our population went down, but yet we're acting like we're.
Yeah, it's going
We're
to
gonna-
boom up again real big. Well, so I have problems anyway. If you're putting in commercial in the lower area,
Right.
you're basically developing a strip mall again,
yes.
which we already have so many empty spaces already. How are we going to fill those?
Correct.
And so there's a concern there. Besides the traffic and water and everything else we talked about.
Right.
And
Right.
the way that the county rewrote the mixed use ordinance, you could actually build. It used to be that if you build on commercial, the higher percentage of the development had to be commercial, and they changed that so you could have higher residential, and they don't have to be built at the same time, and they don't have to be attached, and they can have zero setback lines, and they don't have to have the 30% open space. So they built all the policies up to get ready for this,
Right.
and most of the people in the county don't realize that this is about coming.
And that's
Let me ask this question.
the general plan, right?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
So in the general plan, so this is being prepared for the future. But how far has the developer talked about this at all?
Well, when you already have a developer that showed up with a plan to start. When they say don't worry, it's coming in the future. Well, once they get the entitlement rights, the future's now.
I'm just trying to figure out a timetable on this thing.
But see, I back up further because I actually brought it with me, the premise of our general plan.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually about retaining our resources because that's our economic base.
Mm-hmm. And
we're not talking about that anymore at all. We're destroying our resources even though there's a statement. It's a culture economic statement that you put in your general plan to make sure that you're protected for the economy, and you. I should get it because
go grab it. It's right there. It's there.
Yeah, help me understand because I'm sure there's a lot of other
there's
people out there
in there
as well. Yeah, because
yeah.
I'm trying to figure out how, in this economy and I still don't believe a lot of the stuff that we hear about. We're coming back, jobs are still going on, and it certainly isn't in our area.
No, it's not feeling it.
And
well, let me hold on one more sec.
Okay, and as I was saying before, we have so many empty commercial space as it is now. I question.
Right.
We're going to build more.
Well, I was talking to somebody today on the phone, and basically, he is actually a no-growther. He would like no growth, and I said, "Well, I'm not a no-growther. I would like the growth that we were promised." Yes. Yeah. And so, but I said, I understand what you're saying, and we need to act now.
Right.
And I told him, his name is John, and I just said, John, it's really interesting. Is I'm being told a lot of people that are opposing us are saying, Lori, you're overreacting. This will never happen. And I said to John on the phone, I said, that's kind of silly because look at Roseville. I'm sure at some point those leaders in Roseville probably said, don't worry, we're going to keep our rural atmosphere. Roseville doesn't look anything like it used to. Nothing.
No.
Have you been to Folsom lately? It's a congested nightmare. I actually lived there for a few years.
Sure.
Couldn't stand it.
Right.
Came up to Shingle Springs.
Right.
So for people to say we're overreacting, when you look at our region and what's been going on, we're not. And we need to pay attention.
Yeah, and I look at the economy, and that's why I said I don't see an increase in jobs. I'm a little taken back on the fact that here we are again talking about increasing the amount of single-family dwellings or apartments or condos or what it may be, and where are we going to get these people from? And
right.
What are they going to do? They're going to go back to work in Sacramento,
we'll
and they're
just
going to add more F.
Yeah.
So now we're going to go to double F on our traffic, and it just doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, I found my verbiage. It's basically on page 1. It talks about the custom, culture, and economic stability. It's so important. It's on page 1 of our general plan.
Okay.
And when it's 8 pages, but basically, the county has a tradition of appreciating and conserving our resources, using them wisely, and upholding a strong ethic of stewardship over those assets. It's a combination of those that they refer to as rural character. So it talks about its long-term economic environmental value depends on overall forest health. And see, this is in our plan where we should have been challenging the state and the feds to force our forests to be healthy so we didn't end up in the situation that we did. In general...
That's a whole nother show.
I can come back for that later. In general, in order for these resources and opportunities to be available in the future, these important lands require sound management. They talk about our resources are important, consumptive, and environmental in order to maintain our county's custom and culture and to assure its long-term economic stability. This plan acknowledges the ecological and historic values of these lands while saving and conserving the lands for future economic benefits for all purposes stated in this section. The rural character of the county is its most important asset. This is stated page 1 and 2 of our plan. And we're supposed to coordinate with the federal and state governments to make sure that that's taken care of, that these policies we're protected by any policies that affect our culture, custom, and economic stability. I would say over the last 20 years, our Board of Supervisors have not been the good stewards that they were in the past over those resources. And when everybody's looking at this, our economy is dying, a lot of people that have moved here don't understand what made this county so economically viable.
Right.
And it's the education of that is really difficult because most people that come here, they know from what where they came and what they did there, and so they form that same pattern that they think that's the only way we're going to be able to be economically viable is to do what they did in the place that they left, which always
Yeah, well, I know, I don't think I'm any different than many people that I moved from Southern California and Santa Monica in particular, and I said, I'm getting the heck out of there. I'm going to raise my kids in a rural atmosphere, and I'm by far not a no-growther, but at the same time, I think it's really important that we address the job situation as well as the water situation, as well as the congestion on our Highway 50 already, and the feeders and all those other things. We've got so many things that have to take place and play in with each other that I often look at that. I do have and I know I'm going to get a bunch of phone calls tomorrow from some of my conservative friends out there, but guys, explain to me how single-family zoning and housing, especially high density, really helps us. I mean, we know it doesn't carry its own weight already. Prop 13, a lot of people take that with them depending on what they're doing. I don't see it really increasing our tax base. So, I mean, if that's what they're looking at, it does in the beginning, but as the years go on,
it doesn't.
It drops and drops and gets further down, and then to a point where it actually costs money to have the housing there.
the services always are more than the product that they bring. Yeah.
Right.
And, I was told once by an old timer, he said, Sue, during the Depression, we didn't suffer because we had the resources, and this county was conservative with their resources, and they protected them because that was their livelihood.
So let's jump into here. Let's really talk
Well,
about.
let me finish it.
I'm sorry.
This to me is why this area is
All
so
right.
important because it's.
The resources because of,
Well, there's a lot of resources in
there's
this
a lot
area,
of food
including
grown in that area. if
there's
that's what you-
food, there's
Yeah.
the forest, so many things that this abuts to.
Right.
And when you can do high density right abutting to those things, it causes a problem for those farms and the
You're going
forest.
to create
Sure.
conflict.
Yes, conflict.
Why
Right.
do that? Why create that? Right.
Well, we've all been up to Apple Hill during Apple Hill time, and it's just nuts. The traffic on 50's bumper to bumper. I mean, it looks like we're in the Bay Area.
It's a great economic engine.
It is. It's incredible. I mean, it's really great for those people out there, but I just don't see. Here we go again. The phone's going to ring. But I just
It
don't
is.
see putting high-density housing in these areas.
It's going to harm that.
Yeah.
Well, you're right, because if you try to put high density up there, it's going to encroach on agriculture. There's going to be those conflicts. We hear about people already with the conflicts complaining to the county. And
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah,
okay, well,
well,
who's going to trump who? Who's
It's like
going to
moving
win?
next to an airport and wanting to close it down.
Yes, it
So,
is.
Right?
Yep.
so do the explain what
Oh, okay,
O is.
so let's
then.
talk about, because we really want to
Okay.
talk about O here.
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
So that's the
Okay.
background.
So that's how we got to that point. We found that we couldn't get the board to help us with the projects. We couldn't get
Right.
the board to even put removing those community region lines, those urban lines, into our current general plan update. They said we're too far along. We can't add another thing. It's too much work. And so.
Guess what, folks? We have a call.
Oh, we do.
So we put our
Let me
ears on.
see. Who we got here?
Oh, do we have to do that?
Yeah, well, I'll have to see. Hi, this is Rob on Guy Tech TV. Who do we have?
I just want to know what channel you're on.
Oh! Well, we're an internet show. So the best way to find us is I'm going to give you a web page to go to, okay?
I can't. You're coming in really bad. I can't hear you.
You can't hear me, okay. I'm trying to get you to go to a particular website.
Okay. I'm
Should we write
going.
it down for her?
Are you ready?
Yes.
She has it's just
www. dot TheOGT.tv.
Great.
And then click on that and go to live, and that's where you will see us.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye. What do you know? We have somebody interested. Yay!
That's a good
That's
thing.
she was on a cell phone, and I guess she couldn't hear very well.
Oh, very good.
It's okay.
That happened.
But okay, let's get back to O now.
So yeah, basically what happened is we couldn't get the board to address the community region lines for us. We couldn't get any policies in place to do anything about the projects. And so since we realized that we have these big targets on us, now that we know, we're educated as a community, now we know it's those lines. And the general plan is a living, breathing document. I remember one day specifically, Supervisor Sweeney back in the day just yelled at me, "It's a living, breathing document, Lori, it can change." And so I think we, the people, should be the ones that can change it. So we took it to the streets. We got our required signatures. I think we needed 7,737 to qualify, and we got 80 more than that.
Well, that's getting right down to it, is it?
Well, because we actually had like a couple thousand more than that, but then when they had to certify it, So this is the one, Measure O, with the community region lines that we, as a grassroots, 100% effort, grassroots, it was all the people, got this on the ballot. And it was an amazing effort. It was exhausting.
We actually, there's a lawyer that wrote it, and it fits right in with our existing general plan. It's not incompatible with what we already have, and it basically reduces those urban boundary lines and creates rural centers, which are a little less dense, but you still have your economic core in the middle of your community. So, and it's basically according to a lot of what's zoned for those things anyway. So for us, it seemed like cleanup.
Yeah.
And the board, like she said, agreed in 2009. Actually, Jack Sweeney wrote the resolution to have that done and said we need to make it a quick, speedy. He admitted that was not a good fit to have that be an urban boundary line around Camino and Pollock Pines.
Okay.
So,
but how did he feel about Shingle Springs?
Well, he wasn't supervisor anymore, so we didn't have to talk about that.
And actually,
so this is Sweeney after on a second go.
Right.
Okay.
And we did go. Norma brought it back to the Board of Supervisors in December of 2013 and said, "We'll do it." And we were all excited. We all
said,
agreed.
"Give me a Christmas present, you guys. Let's just make this happen."
We'll do it. We were there till 9:00 at night, and then they didn't do it.
Didn't do it.
Didn't
and
happen.
so that was pretty much we realized they're never going to do it seemed like, and we brought it to the people.
And so let's talk about propositions a little bit here, because we know that some people we consider ourselves a representative government. So normally what that means, of course, is that you elect your representative, and your idea is to get on the phone and talk to your representative and tell your representative that, hey, I believe in XYZ and this is the way I want you to go. So we have an ability to add on to that with these propositions.
Sure. Yeah.
Let's talk about pros and cons. Cons is that you're not really a representative government then if you bring in propositions. But pros is that if there's something that you don't like that your representative is doing, you can bring it to the people.
Right.
That's okay. What
so and that's the whole idea about these measures is the whole we live in this area. We got the signatures required to get this on the ballot. We would like the people to give their opinion on what they want done.
Right.
Well, and that's what we thought the initiative process, we were such a grassroots, all volunteers, nobody was paid to do this. And people worked their tail off for 6 to 7 months to do this with their neighbors, friends.
To get all those signatures.
Right.
A lot of work. You just don't realize.
And then while we're in the middle
of
that, another organization came up and is basically, we think, to confuse the public on this one. And there was another one on the ballot, but they came up and they were all paid, and they were they're not vested, and so that's where it gets tainted, is when you have people that are paid to do this that don't even know what's in it. They're lying about the things that they're telling people,
right.
and they're getting paid up to $7 a signature just to get that on the ballot. So that was Measure N that's on the ballot that we have a bigger concern about.
Right. So, so maybe that goes along with the fact that, if we're not going to follow along with the representative government situation, if we're going to go with bringing these propositions in, then, somebody with big dollars can obviously go ahead and put something in as well. So it's a mixed bag. It could be good and it could be bad. One of the flyers, and we'll show it here, another one that came in the mail, just to see big dollars. You can do just a beautiful. I mean, I've got to give them credit. I mean, it's
a lot of money being
spent. A lot
spent
of money
against
behind
us.
this stuff, and it looked very nice. It's a very nice piece,
And
it's got some interesting quotes from some people here too. But I'm one of these people that look at our county and I go, okay, tell me where the jobs are going to come from.
Mm-hmm.
I really want to know this, because I want to keep my kids in El Dorado County if there's any way to do it at all, and they want to stay as well. Very difficult to do.
Well, it'd be good to have a discussion with people that work with the rural resources, because I actually did a little interview with about 4 of them, and that's there needs to be more education on some of the things that did bring economic vitality to our county.
Right, absolutely. And we do have some things going on, and we've got some very interesting in the industrial parks. There are some very interesting companies there.
Yes.
There's no doubt about it,
And
and that's good.
There are a lot of cottage industries that people aren't even aware of.
Absolutely.
And they happened without any of us knowing about it. So
Yeah.
Right.
No. So our concern, let's get right back
go to
into
this.
O again. Exactly.
Right.
Is it.
Yeah.
O is designed to do what?
To basically adjust or remove those urban boundary lines that are making certain communities that we consider now are pretty rural, take the target off of us. We don't want to be
Bullseye.
targeted. Yeah, we don't want to be that bullseye for high density development.
So what we're saying is that the people that live in this particular area, and we'll go and zip back into this. Oh, we were on the map
Well,
anyway.
we're on the map.
Whoops.
Hello, everyone.
I'm trying to do too many things. So we're talking again about this particular spot in there, and those are the people that this measure affects.
Sure, and
Right.
when you stop and think about it, because this one over here is the Green Valley Corridor. Do you really want a whole bunch of high-density development on the Green Valley Corridor? It's already pretty busy there. It's kind of scenic. When you're out there on Green Valley, you're thinking that you're getting away from the core of El Dorado Hills, and you
Right.
expect it to be a little more rural in nature. And that's what those people that live out there, they want that lifestyle, that quality of life. Same thing with Shingle Springs. In Shingle Springs, I even see it as more, because if you think about it, we have so many other communities that pass through us to get, Coloma, North Shingle, you can go down South Shingle to get to Latrobe. I mean,
Right.
we're kind of a hub as far as the transportation. Do you really want to urbanize that and just create another congested mess? And it's like, no, we really don't. The people that live there don't. It's not why we moved here.
Right.
And that's
right.
kind of the bottom line. That's not why people choose to live in El Dorado County.
So the idea here is that we're going to give the people a choice. Do you or do you not really want high density? And as we talked a little bit about here, high density can mean multiple things. And a house right next to a house, and like you said, there's no setbacks possible on some of the things, and you were talking about going up, and
Sure.
and some of that interests me, and that if it's in the right location.
Well, and I will
Right.
point out too, if you look at the map of Shingle Springs, it's kind of a small map here, but we actually do have a nice high density. It's really tiny here. It's along the freeway off of Duroc.
Right.
And a lot of people think that's an appropriate place. Well, guess what? It's zoned for that.
Right.
So that's an appropriate
Right,
place. It's zoned
right.
for it. Let's build it. So you
Well,
know what I'm
let's-
saying? It is the right place. That's
And
where
that's
it
for
should be.
businesses. That's
Yeah.
the perfect spot. It's location. You're seeing off the
Exactly.
freeway. It's easy on, easy off in those areas.
There you go.
Yeah.
So we
yeah.
do have a little bit of everything there, and that's kind of, I forgot the term. I want to say it's tertiary, but good planning, good zoning. I've found talking to people over the years is you have your core, your center, commercial, your higher density, and as you go out, it gets less dense and less dense and less dense. That's
Sure.
good planning.
Right.
Well, if you look at Shingle Springs right now with its current zoning, that's what we have.
Right.
So that's why we want to take that red line off so that we just keep the good planning that we have in Shingle.
So how, out of curiosity, we talk about resources, and one of the big issues that we're facing right now is we're back in or still into our drought situation.
Right,
Seems like
right.
we're almost always in a drought situation, and without the ability to have more storage of water, how is it where does EID stand on these type of things? I mean,
Well, they just took out a $40 million credit card to be able to bond up to that much more for more projects.
Yeah.
so project.
So
I wish I could get one of the EID board. I know a number of the EID board people. I wish they could explain to me exactly what they mean by projects. I mean, I want to understand how. Where are we going to get the additional storage of water?
Right.
We if you stay in a drought, we know the snow melt is just not going to keep up if we continue to build out.
It's some of that's really hard to get the information. I've heard different stuff. It's kind of like when they had an 8-inch water main going down shingle. I think they replaced it with a 20-inch. And I asked, well, do you even have the velocity?
Yeah,
there's volume capacity things, but they've been doing things, and I think a lot of our debt was for speculation. And I'm worried. I think we're $360 million in debt already that we owe on a bond. And I have discussions with the ID about those things quite often. And being from a conservative county, I like to make sure we have a handle on our expenses so that we don't all end up. Their only resource, the reason bonding people will come and pay for these bonds is because they can raise the rates anytime they want to pay off that bond, which is kind of a scary concept to me.
Yeah, it is.
Well, my rates sure went up.
Yes. Well, that's what they can
Very
do.
much.
So, yeah.
Very much.
Yeah, and so I understand that, and I'm not just picking on EID either. I'm picking on the whole state of California and some of our environmental protections that have gone to such a point that I worry that how are we going to keep letting people move into California when we just don't have the resources to keep doing it? And it's always interesting to look at Southern California and their need for water, and they're constantly battling. They want more water. And I know there's a measure up here saying where we have to grant Southern California so many acre feet of water, and it's but when we get in a drought, I got to send you all that water down there, but I can't flush my toilet.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm a little bit of one of those. I want to keep mine. That's
a normal thing.
Well,
but that's
we need better planning. It's just, I wish we took all the cronyism out of it and just people that looked at it, and this is what's going to be the best,
It would make
solutions.
things a lot clearer for people if we just stuck to the zoning that we had, and there wasn't influences to change it. Because I've been told at board meetings, the supervisors will say, well, the developers want clarity, and I say, well, so do the people. If we all want clarity, can you just lay it out? Get rid of these lines that creates, it creates confusion when you don't know what's going to happen because there's a line around your community.
Right.
Get rid of it. Let's stick with our current zoning. I think everybody moved in those areas because they like it. Let's just build it out the way it is, and people would be a lot happier.
Well, obviously we're going to see what's going to happen with this measure,
Well,
and
I
we'll
hope
find
everybody
out.
understands it. That's
And we'll find out really how do the people feel about this if they understand it, if they take the time to even study
Well,
it.
and the other issue, just like you pointed out, the slick advertisements.
Right.
It's hard for people to see through that when they're not engaged, and so I have been saying quite often lately, follow the money. When you see something like that, who's behind it? Why are they doing that?
Yeah.
And
it's quite interesting. I'm starting to delve into that now.
mention the town hall.
Oh.
I was confused. There was a town hall meeting that went over the whole. We think it spread through the whole county, and
it was a phone call.
It was a phone call to everybody to discuss these measures.
Oh, yes.
And there was just an enormous amount of misinformation. And there's a lot of people that contacted us and said we couldn't call in, we got blocked, the phone got turned off, we couldn't get in to chat about it, and it's almost like they entered everybody's home. They said a lot of misinformation about us and what
and
we
didn't get a
represent.
chance to correct the
Rebuttal or
misinformation.
right,
It's like, oh, thank you very much. And we were actually listening to the phone call conversation as it was happening and going, that's not true. And our names were mentioned. It's like, I don't appreciate somebody using my name like that and saying...
Well, they didn't give you the opportunity to really talk about what they were saying. So that's unfortunate, and maybe that's why we're here doing our little thing so that you can get your opinion out. And, well, it will be interesting to see. Like I said, one of the other areas that I just constantly look at is voter turnout.
Yes.
And it's been so poor recently.
Yes.
Hopefully, with a few of the things that we're going to see on the November ballot, more people will vote. But when the turnout is less than half the population, you really wonder who is truly our representatives. And I think that's where the argument comes with representative government versus bringing in opportunities like this. We'll take a quick shot of that. Everybody can see that. So you can see where to go. The URL is on there, so you can read more about it. Yeah, absolutely. No problem.
But we do want people to read it and try to understand it themselves.
Find the information out,
and ask questions. Our phone numbers are posted all over the county.
Yeah, they are.
There you go. Anybody can call you. That's right. No, that's good. That's good. But I'm really glad you guys had the opportunity to come on back here and try to let people understand why you have Measure O. And for those of you out there, if you don't vote, you don't have a say in this thing. And I really, it's so easy to vote nowadays. If you don't like going to the poll, you can do absentee. Do it in your bathroom if you want to while you're reading or whatever it is. But let's spend a little time and get things right, and let's get you voting out there, because I think it's important. And I'm going to be watching this a lot because I want to see where the people really do stand on these measures. I think that's the important part.
Well, this is a pivotal point in this county where people are going to decide whether they really want to retain those rural values or do we want to be a more urban county.
And what we're also going to look at is who's really going to get out there and vote.
Yes.
That's what we're going to see. Yeah. Is it follow the money like it is a lot? I mean, if you have a lot of money, it had historically been you could get elected, or is it, I feel strongly about a particular thing and my representative is not going the way I would like it to go, so I want this opportunity to vote differently, and that's what this is going to do for us. We're going to see where Measure O goes and how the people that live and are going to be affected by this measure, and it will be interesting.
Yes,
so,
very nice.
Well, we went way over that 30-minute mark, which is fine. No, not at all. So I want to wrap it up. Is there anything else that you just wanted, final minute here, just to...
Well, we appreciate you giving us the opportunity, because being grassroots, there's not a lot of money, and so we would encourage people to support you also, to let people like us to be able to have a voice.
Yes, absolutely, and I'm glad that we're here to do that for you, and I enjoy it. It's a labor of love, and and I encourage people either side. I mean, come, let's talk about this. You'll find out that I'm a pretty easy interviewer. I
think so.
I don't.
I came back. It wasn't that bad.
So, hey, anyway, thank you very much, Sue and Lori. I really appreciate it. And this is Rob for Old Guy TV. Thank you very much for watching us, and we'll see you next time.